Early in my fitness career, I got certified in pre and postpartum training. It was a weekend long course with very broad guidelines. Don't let the heart rate go above 140, and no flat exercises after 20 weeks. And you're cleared to work out 6 weeks after popping out that baby. Okay, those were my words, not the instructors. And then I had my own baby. I stayed pretty active through my pregnancy, but after my daughter was born, I developed an unexpected pelvic condition that was so painful that I couldn't walk for weeks. And that whole bounce back in 6 weeks timeline, totally unrealistic and completely dismissive of what my body actually needed. Our lives have seasons, training programs have cycles. Our businesses have both of those too. And while you can prepare, some seasons are unpredictable, and that's okay. My guest today is Natalie Siegel, a licensed professional counselor and full time mom who specializes in complicated family dynamics, body image, and healing generational trauma. She put her thriving practice on hold to prioritize motherhood. She's got a really cute little boy, and her story is about honoring the season that you're in. But before we get to chatting with Natalie, every episode kicks off with a listener question in a segment called Hey Coach. So, what would you ask if you had a business coach in your back pocket? Submit your question to Leslie at thefitnessofbusiness.com. Hey Coach, I feel like I'm constantly bombarded with messaging about scaling, growth, building a 7-figure empire. I want a business that supports my life, not consumes it. I want to work with clients I love, make enough money to live comfortably, and have time for my family and the things that really matter to me. But I keep second guessing myself. Am I playing small? Am I not ambitious enough? How do I tune out all the noise telling me that I should want more? Natalie, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, I'm so excited to be here with
Oh,
you.
I'm so excited that you're here with me. And I guess, I would just love for you to talk through your story, how you got started with your business, how you made the decision to pivot to full-time motherhood, and just sort of everything in between.
Totally. I was never like a, career girly. I never wanted to be like a full-time 9 to 5, sit behind a desk, PTO. Like that just never felt great to me.
The
Even as like
PTO
a
part, I think, would be okay.
Yeah. PTO part, yes. Um, maybe limited PTO, not so good.
There you go, okay.
Yeah. So that never sounded I don't know, I never vibed with this, like, corporate culture, and I knew from, I knew that from, early in my 20s, and I thought that I maybe wanted to work with kids because I had always, loved, you know I was a camp counselor, I babysat, I was a nanny, I did all these things with kids, and so I thought maybe, I did literally less than a year in a corporate and not even it was a small boutique PR firm for 1 year post grad, and I was like, "Oh, this is not for me." And then I, started working in schools thinking maybe I wanted to do something with kids in schools, but I wasn't sure about being a teacher, and, my path kind of wound all different ways, but I eventually realized that I think that my heart was in, uh, mental health and the therapeutic space. And having, experienced therapy myself in college, not till college, I just became super passionate about that, experience and what it gave me in terms of clarity and reflection and healing. And you know, I very much benefited from my experience in therapy myself, so I, decided to pursue a master's in counseling,
Mhm.
and that's kind of so my going from very different I was in public relations, not enjoying it, didn't vibe with the whole corporate world, and then going to schools and then, working with kids that way, but realizing I didn't wanna be a teacher, and then going to counseling program. It all kind of made sense in that way. It was a winding road in my 20s, but led me to exactly where I think I should be. And so I finished my master's in counseling, and as I was getting my master's in counseling, I was, battling some major, disordered eating, body image issues. So, it's true what they say, like, what you go through often defines your path, and especially
Absolutely.
as a therapist, coming to specialize in the things that I do is obviously related to what I've been through myself.
Mm.
Complicated family dynamics, eating disorder, and body image issues. And I became very, very passionate about these subjects. Um, and that's why I specialize in my therapy practice. And it has been an amazing experience working with mostly women, millennial women. I honestly see a range of ages, but mostly I would say millennial women who struggle with these things that are really difficult in life. Basically just, it's hard to be a person. And so having this space with a therapist is really important. And I love, I guess right now, past tense, loved being able to provide that. And
Yeah.
gives you so much of what I got, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and before we sort of like jump to the next phase of, how you decided to kind of switch to full-time motherhood for this season, I want to kind of go back because like you mentioned that, you worked in a more corporate setting in PR and in schools and then you sort of went the total opposite direction in the mental health field, but there is like so much um structure and organization and business acumen you have to have regardless of what the actual practice or service that you're providing is.
So true. So
And
true.
so, like, were there at least, like, a few good nuggets that you took from that corporate setting that you were able to apply to start to your own practice?
Completely. And I have used social media to get the word out about what I do as a therapist. And I have like a small following on my therapy page, and it has brought me clients and has brought me a lot of ideas of what to do. So it's like a marketing, there's marketing within this field also. And so
Oh,
something
yeah.
they don't teach you in therapy school and mental, is really like business components. And so I kinda, like, had to take from what I knew and from what I've learned in other ways to apply it to my own therapy practice. But even so like you're saying, yes, it was totally relevant in that way.
Yeah. Well, I've had obviously, when people ask, like they ask me, they ask you, who do you work with? Who's your target demographic? Who And the more conversations I have, like, I'm starting to realize just this commonality and this common thread of it's people who are so good at what they do and they're experts in their field and um, they've just got like incredible experience and knowledge but they struggle with the business side,
Sure.
and that seems to be just like a major gap, especially in a lot of these, like, specialized, educational programs, of course.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that because so I work for a group practice, and I love my group practice owner, and she's also a really good friend of mine. And a big reason why I haven't chosen to go off on my own,
Mm.
Leslie, is because I'm afraid of the business stuff. I'm afraid of
Mm.
the overhead. I'm afraid of, you know, uh, having to bring in clients and marketing and all these different types of business oriented things that, again, like you're saying, it's just, it's not it's not my expertise. It's not what I was taught. And I think that's something that's majorly lacking in these specialized fields is like we don't have any business training. I spent 3 years working with clients and mental health and learning about just mental health issues and disorders and how to treat them and different practices and modalities. Never like, here's what it's going to take to run a business because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, even though it's therapy, it's still a business. So it's a
Right.
majorly lacking me. I don't think I've ever said that out loud, but like the big reason why I haven't even thought about going on my own is like I just don't want to deal with the
Yeah.
business component.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah,
At the same time, there are still elements that you have to bring in when you are, practicing,
of
obviously,
course.
customer service, I guess maybe that's
Yeah,
not like the best way, but like relationship building
Yeah.
and creating space and safe environments and follow up and listening. And, it's a
Yeah.
lot of these same business skills, and maybe they're more just like people
Yeah.
skills.
Totally.
But yeah, and like you have to keep people happy and wanting to come back
Yeah.
and feeling like they're making progress and all that stuff. So there
And that's
there are
business, right?
elements. That's
Yeah, that's
business.
business.
That's right. That's right.
So interesting.
Um yeah, okay. So then I guess like, practicing therapy and having these clients, and I mean, I can just speak from my own experience, like talking to you is so easy.
Well, thanks.
Always has been. We've known each other for a very, very, very long time. Um, like, how did you come to the decision to put your put your therapy practice on hold?
Totally, it's a great question. I just wanna say this, like, I never intended to do this, and I think that that's really important, just like how you were talking about how, like, "Oh, after 6 weeks, you can work out," and it doesn't take into account what your actual experience might
Yeah.
be, how birth affects your body, all the things that can happen. I I don't wanna say I regret saying that I was gonna go back to work, but I kinda just wish I left it open-ended
Mm,
and said, like, "I'm not sure when I'm gonna be back," but instead I was like, "Oh, by 6 months, I'm gonna be ready."
yeah.
And the truth was, it wasn't. Um, and even but I did go back for a few months, at that 6-month mark, and I was excited to start my work with clients again. I was really engrossed in back in work again. I was only working very, very part-time, but it felt I was excited, but I was also, like, really distracted by
Mhm.
what was going on with my son.
Yeah.
Had childcare, my mother-in-law has been amazing, she was watching him, but in our home, and I was also seeing clients in our home from, virtually, and I was not I could tell in my heart I wasn't 100% there, and
Yeah.
when you engage in a therapeutic relationship, as a therapist, you need to be 100% there.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking about other things. You can't be, somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I could feel that I was. And also, in the second half of my son's first year, we went through some health stuff with him and realized that he was having some neurological issues.
Mm.
Um, he was having seizures, some subclinical, like not, grand mal seizures or anything, thankfully, but he was having some kind of brief seizures that, of course, maybe only a mother could notice, but I
Mm.
did. And it was eating me alive. And we couldn't get
Yeah.
into the neurologist for a few months. And I knew something wasn't right. And he had other issues that we were trying to treat. And I was just a mess.
Mhm.
And so adding that on top of already feeling like a little bit disconnected or a little bit distracted rather, I I couldn't be in that therapy space. I don't have a passive job, Leslie. I don't have the kind of job where you could log into a meeting and just kind of sit there while you also scroll or kind of just be, doing emails. Like I am
Yeah.
100% on for hours a day,
Yeah.
and have to be really focused and
Yeah.
emotionally available, and I wasn't.
Well, and not just that, but, like, I mean, I can relate in the sense that, like, when I would do personal training with clients, like, it would just exhaust me. I loved it, like, it's a lot of, like, great energy, and then or when I, like, run events now, and I come home and I'm like, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I need, like, an adrenaline dump."
Yes.
And so then if you're then also trying to be present for your son and your family, and it's compounded by medical complications, which in and of themselves can be full-time responsibilities,
Exactly.
it totally makes sense. But I think it is probably really difficult for people to recognize those signs and not just recognize them, but then do something and make a change and make the really hard decision to say, "You know what? Going back to work actually is not the right move for me, even though that was the plan.
So right. And so I felt really bad because
Mm.
I had come back and I was like, "Well, I can't go away again."
Yeah.
And I talked to my supervisor, my group practice owner, and she couldn't have been more supportive. She's a mother too. And she was like, "This will be available to you when you're ready for it again.
Mm.
And it's just not the right time, and, you have to listen to yourself." And she was so incredibly validating. It didn't change the fact that I still felt bad because my clients had a hard time with my leaving,
Yeah.
again, right? I
Yeah.
left for a period to have a baby, and then I came back, and then I left
Yeah.
again. And that was really hard, and I felt like I was letting people down,
Mhm.
and I was disappointing people, and that was probably true, and I didn't wanna disappoint myself either.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I felt like if I stayed, it would have been for the wrong reasons, like, because I felt like I should,
Yeah.
and not because I actually wanted to or really could be there emotionally.
Yeah.
So, I had to make that choice, Leslie, because I wasn't showing up 100% in the space, and my clients deserve someone who's 100% there and not distracted and, who has the capacity, and I really just realized that I didn't. So it was a disservice to my clients, and it was also a disservice to myself and my genuine desire to just put work on hold at that point, and I'm
Yeah.
really glad I did.
Yeah. Do you if someone is listening right now and they're feeling like, "Oh my gosh, I am in this place where in my gut I feel like I should do one thing, but I don't feel right for whatever the reason or reasons are, all very valid."
Mhm.
Like maybe like what can you offer as one or two signs to look for or steps to take to like really figure out what the right decision might be?
Well, I would ask where is it coming from, right?
Mhm.
What the should that you feel like I shouldn't, I should do this or I should where is it coming from? Is it coming from, these external factors or these greater systems that are telling us that we should be able to do it all?
Mhm.
And like so and so can be a mom and also work, so shouldn't I be able to? Is it coming from that, from an external kind of factor, or is it is it really an internal experience where you're saying, "I'm not this doesn't feel right to me," right?
Mhm.
What is my gut saying? Right? If I guess a good question I would ask is, if nobody else's opinions mattered or no one had one, what would you do?
Mhm.
Right? If it was only a question that you asked yourself. And that has always guided me back to my truth is what would I do if, for myself and my family and what do I think is the right thing to do? I also want to give a little caveat that like I'm privileged to be able to make a choice that
Yeah.
says that right now I'm going to put my career on hold. Not everybody has that luxury, and it's not just something. So if the should is coming from a place of financial need, that's also different. So there's different elements here, obviously, that need to be addressed. But I think especially if you are in a place where you can potentially put things on hold and you feel this pull to be home or to be with your family or to make a change, then there's something that needs to be listened to there, right? There's a wisdom that exists there. But I do think that we live in a society that people are like, when are you going back to work? Right?
Mhm.
When are you going back to work? And
Yeah.
also on the same token, right? Like, well, then who's watching your kids if it's not
Right.
you? So you can net you're dating
Yeah, there's no winning. Yeah, you're right. And, "Oh, you have a nanny or a daycare? Oh, is that the best idea?" It's like, "What how should I how should I manage this? What do you recommend?" Like, no one knows you better than you. No one knows your kids better
yeah.
than you. And you're right. And not every change maybe to sort of like encapsulate what you said is depending on, of course, your financial situation or why you feel like you should keep working.
Mhm,
That may not be the luxury that everybody has, but people do have the luxury to make a change or to, you know, shift a priority or shift in energy,
Totally.
um, if that is just something that would alleviate, some of that, the guilt or the pressure or the dissatisfaction, I guess.
Totally. And yeah, I think that there's just so much noise, outside of yourself, and that has just I just feel that that clouds how we feel, and the decisions we make is just based on this noise that exists societally in our families, in our
That
circle communities, and that if we just turn down the knob, I
Yeah.
wonder what we'd hear internally. And I think that I really had to turn that down for myself to say, okay, I know that I might disappoint people, and I
Uh-huh.
know that it might be different than what my friends or other people would do. But motherhood has turned my world upside down in more ways than
Mhm.
one, and I have to make a change.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I listened to that voice inside me because it has been the right thing. And knowing that I can come back to it is also very
Yeah.
relieving and exciting to think about what I can bring, especially now that I've been through postpartum. That
Oh
also is
my
exciting.
gosh. Yes, an extra layer of relatability and experience and, empathy. I'm curious though, because I feel like often in these situations, like the anticipation of doing the thing or making the decision or stepping back is often noisier or worse in our minds than, in actuality. So I'm curious, like, you said, I'm going to let myself down, I'm going to let my clients down.
Mhm.
What actually happened when you made the decision and you communicated it? What were the,
Totally. Everybody understood,
of course.
of course. And was it hard? Yes. Was it, did I let some people down? Did I disappoint people? Yes.
Mm,
And I think it was very emblematic of, like, what it means to make choices for yourself is that sometimes you are gonna do that, but yes, it was certainly scarier than I anticipated. Um, but I was pleasantly surprised with all of the support that I got,
yeah.
and the truth of the matter is I had to be able to separate myself from work. And
Yeah.
especially with clients who do have an emotional connection to me and who I am emotionally connected to, it does make things a little bit harder versus maybe someone in a different industry who is taking some time to be a mother who doesn't have the same emotional connection, but she still might let people down,
Yeah.
or disappoint. And I think that it's sitting with that discomfort and saying, I might let people down when I do what's right for me,
Yeah.
but I still have to do it. It's been
Yeah.
hugely important to my not only this aspect of leaving work, but to my life, Leslie, as someone
Yeah.
who grew up with a people pleasing, background, getting to a point in my own healing where I said, even if my choices are not what others would choose, or they have some kind of feelings about it,
Mhm.
it's I have to separate myself from that and recognize that I still have to live my most authentic life. And that made it easier for me to make that change to say, I can handle the disappointment from others, but I cannot handle disappointing myself.
Right. Right. And so then, right, it's just a judgment call. Like, do I stay in this because disappointing other people is heavier than the burden of not being the kind of therapist that I want to be, and then also not being the kind of mother because I don't have the capacity. It's like something always has to give.
Yeah. And it wasn't gonna be me or my motherhood,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's not that I'm replaceable. I think I'm a good therapist, right? But I also know that other great support exists out there, and I'm not the only one who can provide it, but I am the only person who can be the mother to my son.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I felt good about being able to do that and knowing that when it's right, Leslie, I'll come back. I'll come back and I will bring way more knowledge and experience with me when I do.
Yeah.
But it just can't be right now, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Quick pause. I was that kid in school whose notes everyone wanted to borrow before the test. Color coded, organized, the whole deal. I'm still doing it, but now for entrepreneurship instead of AP Bio. My Substack is basically me sharing my notes with you. The podcast gives you the big ideas. My Substack shows you how to implement them. Step-by-step guides, templates, and real stories from the trenches. Subscribe for free at leslieboyce.substack.com. That's LESLIEBOYCE. And let's take this from theory into practice. Because knowing you should hit the gym and actually getting there to do the reps are two very different things. You know, this is a super common theme in entrepreneurs that I talk to. And again, I'm putting you in that category because you do essentially run, when
Sure.
you have your clients, they are your
Yep.
business.
Yeah.
Um and it's really easy, especially before or in the absence of also being a parent, that it becomes your identity. Like my career, like me owning a gym, it was like, it's all I'm gonna think about. It's all I'm gonna talk about. It's like it's literally what keeps me up at night. And you know, then you have a baby and it's like, oh, there are other things. There are other things that take my priority because they have to. Um, and but like not everyone becomes a parent, which of course is totally fine. And I think it's really important to, give people the permission to not let their careers or their businesses be exclusively how they identify themselves,
Regardless of having a child,
regardless of having a child. Yes.
that you're allowed to be, multi-dimensional and have other things that are important to you. And yeah, I didn't feel this pull, even before I had my son. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to do the most and be the most and more, more, more. Like I didn't have that drive within me.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that I've always just made space for other things in my life and found more joy in things beyond building a career.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been very serving to me because it has allowed me to explore other areas of life and not be so caught up in, an identity around being a business person and, being obsessed with
That's
my job.
that's entirely too logical though.
Totally.
Yeah, you're supposed to be obsessed and making seven figures and I've referenced this maybe a couple times on the podcast, but I've definitely referenced it in conversations with people that I had one meeting with a business coach a couple years ago. It was just like a one-off thing. It was intentionally a one-off thing, but one of the things he asked me when he was, when I was starting to put my coaching practice together after, as I was getting near graduating from my EMBA program, and he was like, what does the future of your business look like? What are sort of your long-term goals to grow? And I was kind of talking through some of the ideas I had. And he was like, what if it was just a business that was enough to, you know, sustain you and have a nice quality of life and not totally consume you and like you didn't have to grow it or scale it. And I was like, huh,
What?
that yeah, I'd be okay with that. That's great. That's actually really, really great, but it's the noise out there. It's like you're not doing anything right if you are not, in this incredibly successful financial position and telling everybody about it.
Totally. I think I think we're obsessed with growth. We're obsessed with more, 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 rather than just being like, what if it's just enough? Or what if it's just okay? And it's okay to want more. It's okay to
Yeah.
want to grow, of course. But I also think that we are, told this story that we should always be climbing the ladder. We should always be, rather than like, what if it's just okay to just be like, I don't really care about a promotion, or I feel okay doing the amount of work I'm doing now. I don't need to see, so for me personally, right? I don't need to see 30 clients a week and make a, certain amount of money. It's just again, to the caveat of like some people have to do this financially, but other people who just, want to grow just to, climb this corporate ladder or climb a ladder, or, get ahead or do the most. It's like, what if, like your coach asked you, what if it's just What if you just had it what if it's just comfortable enough?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I wonder if
Yeah.
people are just uncomfortable not pursuing more, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, what am I doing then if I'm just, like, am I complacent or am I just too but
Right.
I think it's okay to just be okay.
Right. And I think it's okay to um, question the sort of societal definition of success
Yes.
because
Yes.
that is very subjective. And I think the other piece is like being okay to answer that question. I'm saying this as much for myself as for anybody else, but to answer the question when people ask, like, "Oh, well, so how's your business going?" And um, how many followers do you have, and how many this, and it's like feeling like what answer could I possibly give that would be satisfactory to this person asking?
Mhm.
I I don't know.
Well, and a question that I would ask back to you is, what would be satisfactory to you?
Right, exactly, and I think that going to require a lot more soul searching, um, and and being okay with disappointing the person asking because who cares?
Exactly. Exactly. And it not and it's okay that it's not what they expect or what they think is growth inducing or whatever. Like, I just had a conversation with a friend yesterday and, when people ask me like, "So are you gonna work or when are you gonna go back to work?" It's like, when I say like, "I don't know,"
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh."
Hmm.
And like that's their own projection,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Their own like, "Oh, I could never imagine being home with my child." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's the right thing for me."
Totally.
Just because you think it's weird or you think it's, like, impossible or you couldn't imagine not working, like, you know, both because it's like, for me, I'm like, "I couldn't imagine working right now," and someone said, "I
Right.
couldn't imagine not working." But we
Yeah.
all have to do what's right for us, but people project a lot also onto you, onto what they onto what they think or what they feel or what they fear, rather.
Right. Right. And it's probably kind of intimidating for people to hear someone like you say, "Yeah, this is what I'm doing and I'm good with it."
Totally.
And probably like a little bit of jealousy like, "Oh, I wish I could be that, honest with myself."
Yeah. And I think people have a hard time being honest with themselves.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah.
So it's been a huge, learning experience for me in so many regards. Putting trying to turn down the noise, putting, my ideas of what I thought this time would be like on the back burner and saying and even like thinking about a few minutes ago when I said like I regret saying I would come back. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know what motherhood would be like until I became a mom. And
Yeah.
so I I I put out what I thought I was gonna be ready for, and it just turned out I wasn't, and I think if that's not emblematic of life and having to pivot, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how you're gonna feel, you don't know what's gonna come up, and being flexible to make changes and being reflective and asking yourself tough questions is a really important part about being a successful human being, is
Yeah.
saying, "What is the best thing for me right now? How can
Yeah.
I make the changes that support my authentic life and desires and the person that I want to show up as in this
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah.
and trying to listen to that versus a very loud voice, very loud noises externally, which I don't
Yeah.
blame anyone because it's very distracting.
It's very distracting, and, it's very easy to get, swayed or, question yourself or imposter syndrome and all the things. But I'm sort of curious if, when you feel like you're gonna this is making an assumption that you will eventually go back, and maybe you won't, but what what questions are you going to ask yourself before you do go back, if that is the direction you go, so that you feel, a lot more confident in that decision.
Yeah. I think I think asking myself about my genuine desire to go back is gonna be really important because if I would have said to myself when my son was 6 months old, like, "Do I wanna go back or do I just feel like I have to?" it would have been the latter, right? And the same question will apply later because there's a chance that I'll feel just like people, again, external things that people might be like, okay, well, now her kids are in school. What is
Mm,
she doing? Like,
yeah.
so is my reasoning then gonna be also like I felt like I should because I don't have
Mhm.
anything else? Currently, I feel that I will have the desire. Although I don't again, I don't know how I'm gonna feel later, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask myself these questions of what would I do, right, if nobody's opinion mattered? Do I
Yeah.
really want to work again? Is this important to my identity? And the truth is it has brought me so much joy and also purpose in my life to be a therapist. What I do is so important and it's so impactful and my relationships are so meaningful. It
Yeah.
feels not so much like work, even though it is. It feels not so much like work. It feels like it's just this really important position that I have and
Mhm.
this just it's a privilege to be able to be this support in people's lives. And I
Yeah.
I don't take it lightly. It's a very influential, powerful position and I want that. I want to continue to pursue that, but only when the desire to pursue it is genuine and
Yeah.
not based on the expectations of other people. So I will be
Yeah.
very mindful when I do consider it of what's my why? Why
Mhm.
am I going back?
Yeah.
Is what am I doing this for? Who am I
Yeah.
doing this for? And if the answer isn't me and my growth and experience, it has to I have to keep working on it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, those are all so, so important and very difficult questions that one can and should ask themselves really when making any big decision or change or pivot or, slide in whatever jargon you want there.
Yeah, but I also just was just thinking, like, the pressure that people feel from their parents, their family, their partners, their communities, and, you know, that's real. That's very, very real, and so even if you ask yourself these questions, people still may come back to, "Well, I don't wanna disappoint others." And
Yeah.
that's where I come in to do
Yes.
therapy where people
So
people don't come back to themselves.
right.
And so, because the answer to those questions, like, sometimes can only be found when exploring these really difficult questions with a professional,
Yes.
because we can very much lie to ourselves
Yeah.
and just do what we need to do and grin and bear it. But when we're actually in a situation sometimes and we're open and honest with our therapist and can say, like, you know, "I'm struggling with this," or, "I'm feeling pressure and I don't wanna do this, but I feel like I have to," that's when we can actually push through and do some of that important work to find out what the root of these feelings is. So it's kind of full circle there.
Yeah. Well, especially, also full circle talking about at the beginning when we started talking and you mentioned that you had been sort of historically a people pleaser. Like that's just sort of an intrinsic characteristic that you
Yep.
possess.
Yeah.
And this has got to be a really, really, really big shift
Yeah.
um, from that sort of natural tendency to just say, okay, well, I'm gonna do the thing because it'll make everybody else happy. And
That's
so,
right.
yeah, to be able to speak from your own experience now on a multitude of levels, um, just makes you even a better therapist. So go back to work so that I can come see you.
Well, you can see me 'cause I know you. I know you too well.
Oh
Oh,
yes, you do. You do.
we
Fine.
do.
We'll just go to dinner instead.
Yes, we'll just go to dinner and chat. But
Okay.
it's totally true. And I don't think, Leslie, that I'd be able to have made the choice that I did, like, with confidence if I hadn't been doing the work to heal my people pleasing self in the years before. And I've, been in therapy since college, in and out of therapy, and I have worked on this part of me and come to understand this part of me and accept this part of me.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, why I could make this change because I have been able to do that work and recognize my patterns and put myself first ultimately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and sort of making the analogy in the fitness world, and we'll get to this again in a little bit, but, at entrepreneurship, it's a marathon, and you've gotta put in the reps, and you've gotta, take stock of what has happened in the past and apply it to the future, and it's like that, an analogy can be applied in so many different situations, but without putting in the work, whether it's on your mental health or your professional health or both or your physical health, um, you can't you can't know where you came from, without doing the time.
That's right.
Okay, so I always ask my guests to fill out a little questionnaire just so I can collect some information, and one of the things that you put in there was something that you are super passionate about. I know. You
Oh.
didn't think I was actually gonna read it? You put infant mental health, and I and nothing more. So you've given me 0 context aside from the fact that you're a therapist and that you have had an infant at one point. Like, talk to me about that.
Are you sure you wanna get into this? This is an entirely other podcast episode.
I'm more just like, what how? What? And
What
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 makes
does it
you
mean?
yeah, what does it mean? How do you practice mental health with an infant?
Hmm. So, when I say infant mental health, I actually mean 0 to 3. That's what infancy is considered. And
Infant?
infancy itself is considered 0 to 3. We think of an infant, right, as someone who's like, a few months old or less. But infancy is 0 to 3 years. And basically, I the reason why I put that in there and because your question was, what have you become passionate about? Like, especially in this first 2 years of motherhood, this has really, taken over my psyche, and all my thoughts and emotions because I think as a society, we largely neglect, our very young children's brains, and what I mean by that is this is the most, like, formidable time of their lives is these very early years. This is where they come to learn what is safe and who is safe in the world, and I don't think we give much credit to what's happening during that time because we think they're not gonna remember anything,
Yeah.
but the truth is, it is such an important time of, safety, of connection, of attachment,
Mhm.
and I think people largely don't understand infant mental health, and so, it's not so much as, "Oh, I'm doing talk therapy with an
Right,
infant."
right.
It's not that. It's what we're not giving our children, our babies, in the form of nurture during this time. I think we are a low nurture I know we are a low nurture culture,
Yeah.
meaning we do a lot less nurture than other countries and other cultures where the high nurture is more of the norm. Um, and I this all began and the reason I became so passionate is because my son has never slept well. He has never, ever, ever slept well. And so much of my early motherhood, early was spent trying to fix it rather
Yeah.
than trying to nurture and tend to him and realize that he was just seeking connection when I was
Mm.
just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I became very passionate about, about this subject and actually the neuroscience behind it rather, of like what it means when we nurture our children and when our babies cry and what they need from us.
Yeah.
Uh, and how, get this, as a society, so many of our mental health problems are stemmed from what we didn't get in these early years.
Mm.
And when we
Yeah.
didn't get the nurture that we needed, like in those formidable 0 to 3, especially all of childhood, but these specific years that nobody really thinks about,
Yeah.
it can create long-term attachment issues, relationship issues, mental health issues. And it has become, I've become so just, im- just completely taken away by the neuroscience behind it all and the disservice rather we're giving to our children and to us as caregivers and our maternal experience when we ignore our children or we don't nurture them the way that they need to be nurtured. Again, very loaded.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, we could do an entire other episode, but it just makes me think, I know we're kinda going off topic a little bit, but, when my daughter was, oh, I don't know, a month old, like, a teeny, teeny tiny, brand new, and we went to her pediatrician at the time. We have since switched pediatricians, after about 6 months with this one woman who was very, very old school, and my daughter was crying because she's a baby, and the doctor said, "She is very high strung." And I was like, "First of all, how
What?
can you possibly tell that this baby is high strung when she is probably hungry, tired, pooping, like whatever, newborns do?" And I will never forget, and I was, so tired and in so much pain because of my injury and all that. And I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna sort of let that, you know, roll off my back. But, yeah, that has still, like, my husband and I still talk about it to this day, like, "What do you mean?" And now, to be fair, she's my daughter has a lot of anxiety, and we're working with her on it, but it just I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know what to do with that information at the time except be like, "Yeah, she's a baby." Like, that's what they do.
Again, what? Like,
I know.
and pediatricians, by the way, no shade to doctors, but they're often the biggest proponents of, like, ignoring or saying that babies are trying to manipulate you with their it's like,
Yeah.
they're just trying to get their needs met.
Yeah, they're just trying to communicate.
They're
Yeah,
just trying to communicate. So, even to
yeah.
call her high strung, like, what does that mean? She's not like she's what?
I
It's
know. Like she was
so
tap dancing on the table or something. That
what?
would that would have been actually really impressive, but she
Really
was
impressive. But then they'd be like, "She's an overachiever."
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there's just
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many issues with, I think, how we treat babies and also mothers. Um, Again, a conversation for another day and, not recognizing the maternal experience of, and how it changes us. And so I've just become very, very passionate and very informed on this topic. And I think it's something that I'm definitely gonna bring to my future practice and seeing clients of supporting mothers in very vulnerable places like sleep deprivation and early motherhood when you feel like you have nowhere to turn. And the only places you have to turn are places where people are saying to neglect your child. So these are things that I like a lot of new tools that I've gained and will continue to gain that will hopefully inform my future practice.
Yeah. So, Natalie, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, I always love talking to you. I'm glad we've reconnected over the
Thank
last little
you.
while. Yes, we grew up next door to each other just for reference. So, we do go way back, and it's really
Awesome.
fun to connect again as adults and mothers and professionals and all the other things that we are.
So good. You.
And if you want to go follow Natalie on Instagram, she is at Need to Talk. That's KNEAD to talk, as it is a play on words because she is an awesome baker as well. And I have been able to experience some of her baking, and it is delicious. Yes.
More to come.
Uh,
I don't know about gluten-free things though, so I'm gonna have to work
I,
on it.
I did challenge you with that. Yeah. And you did well. So I start every episode with our Hey Coach segment. And when I have a guest, I end each episode by asking the following question. So we talk about in the podcast how running a business is basically like a workout. So, what is one business system or habit that you wish you had developed earlier in your career?
Okay. Boundaries with people and time.
Mm,
And I think that that's really important, especially in my business with, um, making sure that I end exactly, when I say I'm gonna end. I
yeah.
have clients that could talk and talk and talk and talk, and I have to be responsible to make sure that we're ending on the right time. And it's important for me to keep my business running, and also important for them to be able to practice, like, responding to boundaries well. So I feel like
Yeah.
something that is really important that I wish I learned much earlier on versus I learned it within working,
Uh-huh.
um, is how to keep and maintain that boundary, whether it be, like, practicing earlier, saying, "Okay, at the 45-minute mark," 'cause it was 50-minute session, saying, "Okay,
Mhm.
to wrap up," right? And instead of being not sure, not understanding how to control the ending of the session, and just kind of some of the sessions would just go and go and go and go because I didn't wanna cut people off. But I think having a better system of boundaries with time.
I love that because I'm with you. If someone books like a 45-minute, coaching session with me, it's like, "Oh, look at that. It's been an hour. It's been an hour and 15" because I'm genuinely like enjoying the conversation and
Yes,
I feel like, "Oh,
yes.
but there's so much more to do," right? But like that is a slippery slope. So
It
I
is,
that's a great answer.
and it's important. It's
Mhm.
important to keep that boundary for yourself, and it's important for other people to practice, like, respecting the boundary.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's an important business skill no matter what you do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Natalie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
And for
so glad we got to
listeners,
talk.
I know, me too, me too. All right, and we'll get our dinner on the calendar.
Please.
Yeah. All right, listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a review, share the episode, share the show, subscribe, and submit your Hey Coach questions to Leslie at thefitnessofbusiness.com. See you next time.